A web page used to be something your browser displayed. For an AI browser, that same page can become an instruction. And researchers have now demonstrated a controlled attack where a malicious page used an agent to move information across a security boundary the browser was supposed to protect. This is prompt and error, AI stories without the hype. For roughly 30 years, modern browsers have relied on a rule called the same origin policy. The simple version is that one website should not be able to read or change the private content of another website. You can open a questionable page in one tab and your email in another. The first page does not automatically gain access to the second. That separation is one of the walls that made the modern web safer than the web of the 1990s. But an AI browser changes the shape of that wall. Researchers at the University of Washington studied 7 agentic browsers. These were not ordinary chat boxes beside a page. They were systems that could inspect web content, move between tabs, click controls, fill forms, and act with some of the access a human user has. The team found that 4 of the 7 had design conditions that could support a cross-origin attack if a prompt injection succeeded. In one controlled case, they demonstrated a complete proof of concept. The trick begins with a page that looks ordinary to the person using it. Inside that page is an instruction aimed at the agent. It may be visible, disguised as normal content, or hidden in a layer the user never notices. The message tells the agent to change the task. Instead of only summarizing the page, the agent is told to include content from an embedded page and place that summary into a form that submits automatically. Now follow the path carefully. The user visits the malicious page. That page embeds content from a different origin. The user asks the browser agent to summarize what it sees. The agent reads the hostile instruction as though it were part of the assignment. Then the agent reaches across the origin boundary, gathers information, and carries it back into the attacker's form. The website did not directly break the browser wall. It persuaded the agent to walk through the wall for it. The researchers used controlled test pages and their own accounts. They did not steal information from real users. They also cautioned that their tests reflected the products as configured in late January and early February of 2026. But the larger problem is not limited to one product or one test. Every browser agent lives in a hostile information environment. A page can contain instructions. An advertisement can contain instructions. An email, a shared document, or an embedded frame can contain instructions. The agent has to decide which words describe the world and which words are trying to control it. Humans struggle with that distinction too. We call it social engineering. OpenAI's security team says modern prompt injection increasingly looks more like social engineering than a simple magic phrase that can be filtered out. Anthropic has made the same basic warning. Every page a browser agent visits can become an attack vector, and no browser agent is immune. That is why a scanner alone is not enough. A sophisticated malicious instruction can change its wording, borrow authority from the surrounding page, or wait until the agent has useful context. Even a strong detector can miss something. The University of Washington team identified a second danger called memory poisoning. An agent may compress information from several places into one memory. If the source boundary disappears during that process, a malicious instruction can survive and influence a later task when the original warning signs are gone. More capable agents make this harder. The agent that can only summarize one page has limited reach. The agent that can read every tab, inject actions into pages, remember prior context, fill forms, and send information is far more useful. It also has far more ways to turn a bad instruction into a real consequence. The answer is not to make agents useless. It is to stop treating the model as the security boundary. Untrusted web content should stay separated from sensitive data. Agents should receive only the permissions required for the current task. A browser profile used for experiments should not also hold your email, banking, and production credentials. Sensitive information should not cross to a new site silently. And actions that transmit data, submit forms, or change accounts should pause for a real human decision. OpenAI describes this as a source and sink problem. The source is the untrusted content trying to influence the agent. The sink is the dangerous capability, sending data, following a crafted link, submitting a form, or using a powerful tool. You do not have to detect every lie if you prevent the lie from reaching the dangerous action. That is the control worth remembering. When an AI browser reads the web, the page is not only information. It may be an actor in the workflow. So before you let an agent browse inside a logged-in profile, ask 3 questions. What can it read? What can it do? And which boundary forces it to stop and ask you? Because the safest browser agent is not the one that promises it will never be fooled. It is the one that cannot quietly turn a hostile page into a completed action. If this breakdown helped you see the control behind the demo, subscribe to Prompt and Error. We test what AI can do and what has to stop it.